guess it doesn't switch over automatically. Hi, hello,
Hi.
we're here. We're here much earlier than normal. Much later than normal.
Much later, depending which way you look at it.
Yeah, we're about what? Just
15
over
hours. 15 hours, 16, 17 hours late.
Something like that. Hi, we're here.
I should move the microphone close to my mouth and do this whole, how you...
The podcaster thing.
Yeah. So you must be like rolling around the studio just filled with turkey, right? That's all you guys do yesterday?
Perhaps. Yeah, no, I think many here in the United States celebrate Thanksgiving. It is a national holiday, and it is a day of giving thanks, of recognizing the indigenous peoples that were here before we colonized the land. Something turkey.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Pilgrims. Yes, it is 8 a.m. for me, and so I am very much still pumped full of tryptophan, and my brain is operating very slowly, but that's okay. We'll get there. This is why we do a pre-show.
Yeah, just to it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon for me, so I've this is still within working hours, which is great. It means I'm going to do this, and I might get to go to the pub afterwards.
You're completely coherent. You're completely sober. Not like the normal episodes. That
it is Friday.
Oh no, but we got a great show today. I have to stop saying tonight because it is not. I've not been up since yesterday. I've just woken up about an hour ago, so my brain is still catching up.
I've been away all week and got back late last night, so yeah.
All right, so both of us. All right, great.
So, no, today's show should be quite good. We talked about the AI revolution for a while, so it's going to be quite cool to dig into some of that and maybe look at some of the positives potentially.
Can I be honest with you for a second?
Just for a change.
Well, I'm always honest with you, Barry. Look, the future of our field is obviously AI. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who would argue otherwise, maybe doesn't understand the field, or is new to the field. I think this is quite frustrating for me as a podcast host who tries to curate content that is varied and unique. Our show history has over the last 9 years of programming, we've tried to come to you all with a varied approach with the types of content that we cover. And so the frustration for me is when we keep seeing these AI stories pop up, and it's like, crap, that'd be good to talk about. Now, look, me personally, I could talk about this all day. I love this stuff. This is super interesting to me. But I also am sensitive to the fact that we are producing a show that is not just for us. So the frustration lies with, how do we get more non-AI stories in here? And that's where you come in. If you're not a part of our Discord already, please join our Discord. I should put a Discord link up in the... Hang on. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Give me a sec. If you're not part of our Discord, actually, if you want to just do this now, you can go to humanfactorscast.media/Discord. That'll get you right in to our Discord server. If you've got great Human Factors news that you would like to report on that's not AI related, or if it's AI related, that's fine. We'll take a look at all of it. But we're in there. We're posting stuff. Just write out this link.
Are you going to put it up in a?
I will.
That's it. That's clever.
Join the Discord. Leave. Something cool. What's good secondary text for this? Talk with others in the field. I don't know.
Come and join our Discord.
Well, the primary text is join the Discord.
Okay, fair. Chat with what was I going to say then? Chat with chat to nerds similar to yourself.
Talk with nerds similar to yourself. Okay, great. I'm going to create this. I'm going to edit this in just a minute, but all right. Where's the thing? I just made it. Where is it? There it is. Hi, do this. Actually, let me make sure that this thing works. Nope. It does not work. Why does that not work?
Where does it send you?
It sends you to the right. It sends you to the right URL. I thought I had made. Hang on.
Oh, an instant access.
What's that?
You thought you meant an instant access at URL?
Yeah. Hold on.
I've decided I need to get. I want a new desk. I want a sit-stand desk because I want to do some of this stuff standing rather than sitting all the time. Because I think that might give a better, might be better for me. So I know there's some people. I know that some people do some podcasting and live streaming from a standing position, because they feel it gives them puts them in a position as if they're actually presenting rather than just sort of sitting chatting, which I think is an interesting perspective, particularly when I'm doing webinars and things like that. I think I would probably have better energy if I was standing, as much as I hate
probably.
So, and also I want a deeper desk. I've had this shallow desk now for quite a while. It's an L-shaped one, which is great, but I'm still so close to the camera, and I can't make that go any further back than what it is. So, all first world problems, but I feel, particularly with 1202 next year, obviously going to reinvigorate itself, because we got some new guests and stuff. So I want to get my area in the way I want it. It's just a good excuse to spend more money on my office, really. But...
There you go. Yeah, whatever you need to yeah, yes. Hang on? Do I go for the color logo? Do I go for the white logo, or the black logo, or the color logo? What do you think?
Color logo.
Yeah, the purple. I agree. All right, this works now. I just tested it. Talk to nerds similar to yourself. You can go there, and most importantly, y'all can leave us stories that may be not necessarily AI related. If you catch my drift from earlier, I was saying if you're just joining us, hi, my name's Nick. I'm super just waking up now. How do I work at this time every day? You know what? It's just because it's I don't work today. So my brain is not in like work mode.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
When you catch me normally, you're catching me like post work. I have the post work like drive to continue doing well.
Yeah.
There you go. Look at that.
Oh, there we go. Clever. Like that.
There you go. Yeah. Do that. Join us. And leave us stories that are human factors-y in nature, and talk with others, and have a great time, and ask questions, and all that. and all that. I was gonna say something else. Okay, yeah, you can do this. Can you point to that QR code? Because I can't reach. Gotta like
this one. Oh, there we go. That one.
how about the one down below? Oh yeah, they could be a live caller too. I guess that is a thing. Let me make sure that is the right link. Yeah, that's the right link. If you want to be a live caller, you can do that too. If you've heard any fun,
well, I could hold it. Look, if can I hold it?
You can hold it. That's not fair. It used to be over here. What happened to this?
This is the one we want you to do first. We want you to come
come here for the party. Actually, up there for the fun and stay for the party. I don't know. This is going great. We should do more episodes on Friday morning.
Fair enough. That could be fun. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
After, sorry, can we talk show for a moment?
Yes, I was gonna start to introduce the topic for tonight. So
okay, cool. Let's do that.
The title of tonight's episode. Congratulations. You are now responsible for whatever AI just did. This is in reference to tonight's story that is covering 7 potential new jobs that will be created because of the boom in AI. Is that fair to say? Is that fair to?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good summary.
Yeah. Done with that.
And linking the title to the concept, that there's a theme of responsibility with these roles. Now, you were going to get into show notes here. Maybe you were going to talk shop.
Yeah.
What are we talking?
Yeah. No, I was. I've actually read the blurb this time, so we might. So I might not make a meal of it like I did last time. Though I can't promise anything clearly. I think it would be useful if, as part of your initial thoughts, do you want to whiz through all 7 of them? I mean, I mentioned a couple of them in the blurb.
Oh, yeah, sure. Good. Yes.
In fact, if you wanted to be really cool and clever, could we take that graphic that the authors got?
The one that they generated with Gemini? How can you tell that it was generated with Gemini? Yeah.
How do you know the generated with Gemini?
Oh, can you not tell?
No, I don't use Gemini.
Oh, okay, here. Here. You know what? As we're talking AI literacy and jobs, that you know what? This is a great good call, Barry. Good call.
I just
wow, you're so amazing. Okay, so let's see here. You know what? Check this out. Just wait a minute. Just wait. Check it out. Wait. Hold on. All right. There's that. Wait. Hold on. Jeez.
We swapped around.
No, I know. You would think. Hold on. I thought this would persist from last week. This is my bad, guys. This is, here. You're there. I'm over here.
There we go.
This one. Hold on. This setup. This needs to go away. There's that. Bye. So that way. Oh my God. No. This is here. That's what I wanted. There we go. Okay, so here's the article for tonight. The salt in the AI cake, 7 emerging jobs that no one is prepared for. The salt in the AI cake thing is driving me insane. Anyway, here's the graphic. We're talking AI literacy. If you're unfamiliar, there's a watermark that Gemini leaves when you use it. Now, this is generated by using Gemini, and you can see here in the lower right-hand corner, this little like diamond-looking thing.
Yeah, gotcha.
That is indicated that it is made by Gemini. And what they probably did was threw their article in it and said, make me an infographic. Gemini is getting really good about this. Nano Banana 3 is out, and it's actually quite good at making visuals with words. There's still some things that are iffy, and I'm looking across theirs to see if there's any mistakes.
Yeah,
I thought I found one.
I mean, that's ironically, having spoken on the use of AI as data practitioners twice in the past 2 weeks, so given 2 separate presentations. This bit I want to, or at least this idea of the extra roles is it's something I'm folding into my next one, and so it'd be maybe as an outcome of tonight's discussion will influence what roles I put into my presentation. Could be exciting.
So you were saying you wanted this up while we're talking about it? Is that what you were alluding to?
No, I was thinking whilst we
all doing the 7.
Yeah, I think go through, and it might be useful just to keep it there for people to refer to, because I think it's quite a neat.
Little small.
It would be better if it was portrait, as in.
Hang on, let's make me smaller. There we go.
Now it's blurry. I don't know. I don't like
that. This is the highest quality I can get because it's a Gemini photo. Good. There you go. Anyway, I don't know how much higher we can get with quality.
It's fine.
Sorry, folks. There you go. Almost. Oh, that's so close. Why can't we just watch 2 human? There we go. Hey.
Don't touch anything.
Don't. Stop. Whatever you're gonna do, don't do it. You know what? I'm so rude. I'm so sorry. You know what? Here's a few things. We're gonna come back to this one. One, if you're watching or listening live, you can interact with us in multiple ways. Barry already mentioned you can be a live caller. That's up in the top left. You can scan that little QR code, get in behind the stage, but on the backstage is what they call it here on this platform. You can chat to us privately there and say, I would like to talk about something. And then we'll bring you on. You can be a disembodied voice, as I will show right now. Hi, Barry. I'm a disembodied voice, and I'm a caller calling in.
Hi there, caller. What's your name?
Anyway, and now I'm back. But you can do that. You don't have to be on camera. If you want to be a live caller, you can do that. That's right up there in the corner. The second thing you can do, if you want to interact with us but don't want people to hear your voice, that's totally fine. I get it. I do. You can chat with us. Whatever platform you're watching on, there's likely a little chat thing down below the place in which this video is playing. And if you're watching this, chances are that we're live right now. I don't know. Is that weird to say? Because somebody could watch this on a later playback.
True. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, if you're here at approximately 10:20 a.m. Eastern time or 7:20 a.m. Pacific. What time is it there, Barry?
It is 19 minutes past 3 in the afternoon, 15:19 here in GMT.
If any of that sounds right and it's a Friday, you're watching live.
Yeah.
You can leave a comment. We'll see.
Surely it says live somewhere as well in your stream.
Probably does say live somewhere. Can you really trust anything though that says live though? I'm not sure.
That's true. Yes, especially depending on how it's coming through. It's
there's like this in broadcast. There's a 7-second delay in case somebody says the F-bomb or anything. We don't have that here. So,
no, we can like. It's
so you could call in, say you want to talk about human factors, and then drop the F-bomb and leave, and we'd be
slightly open mouthed.
Yeah, we have no 7-second delay button to crop that out.
I do have, I think, on my Rodecaster a bleepy thing, but I don't think I could get to it in time.
I don't think I get to anything reasonably in time either.
No, because it's in fact my usability is really bad because it's even beyond arm's length at the moment.
Oh, yikes! I mean, the best I could do is maybe like turn up the music or like go to commercial. Hang on.
Let me la 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 la. So I'm messing about with the notes slightly because I want to. I think we can chat about what these things are called because I'm leading from. I think one of your comments that you've put down.
Oh, you know what though? Oh, this gives me. Oh, that. This is giving me a great idea.
That's cool.
I need to make a technical difficulties like video clip that I can upload, and then just whenever something goes wrong, we could just throw it up there, and it has some like lobby music and the technical difficulties logo. I need to do that. That is a good thing to do. Are you mapping these to the what notes are you making here? I'm just making sure I'm tracking.
I'm just making what I would. So the titles that they've come up with, I'm linking them to what I think that they actually are.
Okay.
And then talk about.
Excellent. Quite the viewership for a Friday morning. This is kind of hi everybody. Thanks for joining us. Quite the viewership for a Friday morning. Yes, we can see that.
I think some of these we can crowbar into one.
So, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't want to give away the cart before the horse.
No, it's something we can come into.
But I have some pretty strong thoughts on this article. I'm glad you chose it. Well, we chose it. You had called it out in the news, and I was like, why not?
We all did, didn't we?
It was a collective effort.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's that one. That's weird.
I guess I could put we used to do this. Why didn't I do this? All right, Discord's going away in just a few minutes. So if you wanna join, scan the QR code now, or go back.
I've got it down. I've got the 7 down to 4, at least.
I think they were stretching, personally.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, if y'all want to, okay, Discord link is going away.
Well, bye Discord link.
Soon-ish. Give it a second. I will give you all a second. If you want to join, there's ways to join. You can go to our website, humanfactorscast.com. You can do that. It'll redirect you to .media, but we own the .com domain. Look at us, big boys. And then you can find the Discord link there. But we would be honored if you would join us. And if you are, what the hell? Sorry.
Well, you just can't get the stuff, can you? It's
trying to get. It's gonna pull up. There you go. All right. Here's the news story for tonight. If you want to follow along with the news story, salt in the AI cake. 7 emerging jobs that no one is preparing for. So many hyperbole
I need. I really. Oh, we've got 4 minutes left, haven't we?
Yes, we do. Yes. Oh, hi. Yeah. Oh. We're gonna start the show here in 4 minutes. Look at us go. Life comes at you quick.
It does.
We
like said that as well. That the whole 2 hours piece just goes so fast.
It does, and I can't believe that like. I just we're just so comfortable talking before the show. Man, I gotta turn it on here. Wipe the sleeps out of my eyes. Friday morning, everybody. Woohoo! All right, Barry, you're gonna carry the show tonight. today. I can't.
Yeah, no, it's a today thing. It's
today.
All good. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use bigger screenage.
Bigger screens. Accessibility. All right. Just a few minutes here. I have oh shoot. Dang. I never did it came from. Okay. Well, you know what? There's one in there I think that's a good one, and maybe we could pull in the other two in a comment. There's a comment with 2 more there from Chris from the lab, if you saw those. So we will.
Yes, can we check them out?
We will dangerously approach. Yeah, hang on. We'll dangerously living life on the edge here. This is what happens when we don't properly prepare the show notes. Actually, that's not true. We've properly prepared the show notes, but we have not properly prepared our responses. I think that is. Okay.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that one.
You know what? At the very least, we have everything all in one place now. All right.
And we've got have you in the chat? Declan Finn is messaged us. So a long-time listener, first-time caller, air traffic controller, and currently studying for an MSc in human practice in aviation. I'm guessing if you're in the UK, you're at Cranfield. Anything exciting HF field in the aviation field is being worked on? Well, certainly from my perspective, the biggest game in town at the moment from a military perspective is GCAP, the Global Combat Air Program, of which there's a few different versions of that around the world. In the UK, we've got a collaboration going with us, Italy and Japan. And some of the things that this is basically creating a 6th generation fighter, so the next one on from the F-35, F-22 type era. That is an exciting air platform, which is quite cool. So yeah, I mean that would be the biggest thing I've got going at the moment. Nick, have you any thoughts?
I don't have specifics, but what I will do is give a shout out to the aviation technical group for HFES. They are very active across their platforms, and so I'll go ahead and give Phil the shout out to go and follow the oh geez, I think it's like, let me get it right because I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want.
Whilst he's trying to find that as well, I would also give a shout out for there's 2. There's a NATS webinar. Was it this year or last year? It might have been last year that I participated in with the NATS HF team. And so that's National Air Traffic Services here in the UK. That's possibly worth a watch, and there was a complimentary interview on 1202 that we did with the same team. So I'd push them out to have a look at too.
Well, of course, I can't find it right now. Why can't I find it? Okay, it's HFES Aerospace Systems. I knew it was ASTG, but I couldn't remember. I knew it wasn't aviation. All right, so it's HFES Aerospace Systems Technical Group. They are always posting stuff on LinkedIn. They're one of the more active technical groups that will actually post the news from their field, and something that I follow for the news. So that would be my plug. Great question, and thank you for writing in. We appreciate that. All right, Barry, are we ready to do this thing and go with the?
Ready as we ever be.
All right. Well, we're
Let's
going to
do
start
this.
the show. There's going to be a quick little thing that plays, and just to hype us up, and then we'll be back.
Welcome to Human Factors Cast, your weekly podcast for human factors, psychology, and design.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Human Factors Cast. This is episode 310. We're recording this episode live November 28th, 2025. I'm your host, Nick Rome, joined today by Mr. Barry Kirby.
Hello there.
The Human Factors guy, as you can see. I need to change it. Can we change that? We need to change that back. We got a great show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about the seven new jobs that are coming with the advent of AI. I think that was a very clumsy way to introduce that. But we're going to be talking about 7 new roles because of AI. We always talk about AI taking people's jobs, but this is kind of the flip side. I really have nothing else. Barry, what's going on over at 1202?
Not a huge amount, really. Basically, as we've mentioned before, we're taking a break for 2025. So we're looking forward to January 26th, and we started curating guests. So I have a few lined up already. So we're going to have to start. We're in two minds about whether we start recording some in December, but we want to get going in January. But in the wider ergonomics field, and I think I mentioned last time, we're looking forward to 2027 because we'll just ignore 2026 completely because the IEA triennial is coming to London. So that should be a really cool event. Already seen a lot of the planning happening for it, and we know tickets are going to be going out, starting to go on sale fairly soon. So it'll be a really cool opportunity for anybody who wants to get involved in HFE stuff and wants to come to London and perhaps meet up and do stuff. Then we can start making dates already. It'd be great.
That would be awesome. I hope to make it out there for that. That would be super cool. Okay, well, let's not bury the lead. I think we should just get right into it. What do you say?
Let's crack on.
I wouldn't say that's a new record, but that was pretty quick. Barry, what's the news story for this week?
So the story this week is about the real AI crisis isn't job loss, it's governance. We're running out high-risk, opaque systems without the human expertise needed to question, monitor, and be accountable for them. So using the metaphor of a cake baked with salt instead of sugar, the author of tonight's story warns that you can't retrofit transparency, traceability, or human oversight after deployment, especially under regimes like the EU AI Act, and in a world where just 250 poisoned files can quickly compromise massive language models. They lay out 7 emerging custodian roles, like AI decision auditors, human accountability architects, and AI risk stewards, that sit squarely in the human factors wheelhouse. People who understand socio-technical systems that can challenge AI reasoning and design processes that preserve human responsibility. For human factors practitioners, this is basically a call to step into the cockpit of AI, to build the skills in governance, scenario thinking, and data provenance so that when machine generates outputs, humans still own the outcomes. Nick, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I have plenty of thoughts, but before I do that, you mentioned a couple of the roles. I'm going to bring up this graphic. Oh my God, we got this set up in the pre-show and then it just messed up entirely. All right, so we're going to bring up this graphic here to actually go through the roles here before we start. So let's talk about these 7 different positions and talk about what the author says they are, and then I'll give my thoughts. All right,
Cool.
so the first one that we have is the AI decision auditor. So this is somebody who questions and validates the AI before implementation. I'm just going to read the baseline stuff. I think there's a lot here. The human accountability architect is number 2 here, and they design processes that preserve human responsibility even as systems become more autonomous. That you have the multimodal interaction designer, who is orchestrating how multiple AI agents collaborate with human oversight. You have the AI risk steward that monitors systems for drift, degradation, and bias emergence. You have the responsible AI implementation strategist, translates between the technical teams who build and legal teams who interpret, ensuring compliance is not theater but embedded practice. You have number 6 here, the AI drift and integrity analyst. They track models' performance over time, identifying when systems produce unreliable results before regulatory audits discover the problem. And then the 7th position here is the transparency and explainability designer. So they translate the AI decision making into understandable explanations. Okay. My thoughts. One, this is coming from a position of all right, the seven seems unrealistic. I'm just going to say that right out the gate here. I think that a lot of these hats are hats that folks like you and I probably already wear, especially when it comes to designing the process to preserve human responsibility, to collaborate with human oversight, to do some of the risk analysis. I think we already sort of embody some of these roles. I disagree strongly with some of these positions. Like take position 1, for example. I don't ever see a world in which we have a dedicated role to somebody who is questioning and validating AI before implementation. That would be rolled into one of these other roles. I think we already do some of this in some of the roles, and I don't see, unless you are a company with a lot of resources, a lot of money, that really wants to create these roles that are dedicated for these things. I just don't see it happening in like small businesses. I don't see it happening in medium-sized businesses even. These are hats that we wear. These are not jobs that are being created. I would go as far to say I don't think most of these will actually see the light of day as as like something you would see on LinkedIn as like, we're hiring for the AI risk steward, right? I don't see that. I see that as something that is part of a larger role, and these are hats that you wear within those roles. That's my very cynical, very critical lens on this. Barry, what are your thoughts on this?
So I guess we've already up to what now, the 5th industrial revolution, and one of the big things around that is jobs go. As things happen, jobs disappear, but then more jobs are created. So fundamentally, I think this idea that we're going to see new or different types of roles and within, because of AI, because of autonomy and automation, then yes, I think that's absolutely right. I think new jobs are going to be created, or probably better still, rather than new roles, I think it's more new functions, very much aligned to what you were just saying. I think there's a lot of these things that are here, that yes, they're new things to be done, they're new tasks, they're new functions, but whether they just they exist in their own right, or they're just subsumed into other bits. And I've got some thoughts on them roles that I'll come on to at the end. But I've been talking about AI and HF, particularly in the past, I would say 6 months. A lot of people have asked for presentations and things on the use of AI in the human factors role and about how we using it. So this is almost really topical. It's a really good thing around in bringing on more comment and more discussion, because we need it. We need to really understand what we as HR practitioners do in this role. And it's not just good enough to say that with a traditional HF education, you can come and just go and straight do all of this. We need to include, I think, AI and autonomy into the sweat boundaries of an HF practitioner. It shouldn't. It's getting to the point where it cannot be a specialism anymore. It's got to be a it's got to be part and parcel of what we do, in the same way anthropometry is, in the same way cognitive understanding is. So we need to bring all of that into there. But as we see some of these roles, I mean, large language models, we're now seeing like prompt engineering is a discipline which didn't exist, 18 months ago, 2 years ago. Whereas now we're getting a lot more drive and guidance around prompt engineering. So we are generating these new roles. For me, one of the big things in all of this is around how we test AI. This is certainly something that, again, I don't think it's a new role, but it's certainly a new function. So how do we make sure that the output is what we expect it to be? Because AI has given us a whole new view now on output. Because with automation, if you give a system a defined set of inputs, it would always give you the same output. We're not going to get that with AI. We're going to have a variety of output that is still right, and so that's going to change how we do systems engineering. But I guess I sort of had a bit of a doodle with them 7 roles to work out what are my role, where do I think they fit. So you mentioned the AI decision auditor. Well, isn't that just the assurance role? So human factors integration is all about assurance, and it kind of just fits into that really well. And I would then also link that to that number 6, which was the AI drift and integrity analyst. Well, again, that's just assurance. So I think them 2 things are still a part of a role we already have. The human accountability architect. Now, again, that's ethics. So fundamentally, it's part. You could say it's part of the integration role. I could see a separate function of ethical architect, because it's something we haven't really had to deal with up to now. We've always sort of said about that human in the loop piece should always be there, and that's policy. That policy is getting more and more challenged as technology moves on. So I could see a potential new role, not just for AI, but in the wider space around ethical architectures. And so that also brings in responsible AI implementation. Things like multimodal interaction designers, transparency and explainability, that's just UI design. That's just HCI design, I think. And AI risk is just risk engineering. So out of all of them, I see maybe one new role, but I don't think it's probably a new role. I think there's something probably very aligned to that already that will probably take that in. But certainly new functions that will form big parts of roles. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting times.
You made a point about how jobs come and go, and if there's not a better example of why this is such a revolutionary time for the way that we think about work. You brought up the example of prompt engineer. That's on its way out already.
Yeah.
Because the models are now accommodating for the fact that not everybody is a prompt engineer. And you can still do prompt engineering, but the models are getting better and better at understanding user intent, because they 5.1, right? Chat. This is a snapshot in time, by the way. If you're watching this like 3 years in the future, I am so curious how things have changed since November 28th, 2025. I think there's with prompt engineering right now, the models are pushing back and saying, well, did you actually mean this or that? So I don't know if you've gone on to like ChatGPT 5.1 lately, right? Yeah. That's the current model that we're on. if you ask it something, it will actually come back and ask for clarity. It will do deeper thinking to actually reason out what it is that the user is trying to do. And so those models are actually becoming better about understanding user intent. And so, even that role that you said, prompt engineer, that's coming and going already, and AI has been mainstream for a couple of years now at this point. And so it's like, I'm wondering how much of these problems will go away in the next few years as we start to think about these. I don't think ethics will ever go away. I think ethics is always going to be a discussion, especially around who's responsible for a decision-making thing when there are suggestions by some of these AI, these AI models. And when we talk about AI, we're not just talking about LLMs. Those are the quickest ones to point to. But I think, keep in mind that there are other AI models that specialize in things that are not LLMs, right? So let's take the example of being able to detect cancer in imaging, right?
Yeah.
There are specific models that will look at imaging to detect whether or not cancer is present. There's always, a doctor review to make sure that it's there, but this will flag things that maybe were not previously seen. It'll hopefully not flag too many false positives, but that is another type of model that we could apply these things to. And I think that's important to remind ourselves of, to ground ourselves. We're not just talking about LLMs here. I think go ahead.
Absolutely right. I mean, when you look at the full breadth and depth of what AI is, you've got things like neural networks, et cetera, et cetera. There's lots of other different examples of where this comes in. But to get this right now, I think is quite key, because we're gonna be having artificial general intelligence coming around. We're not there yet. We've done interviews before, discussions before, where we mentioned the work by Professor Paul Salmon and them sort of people, where they look at this and what the risk of AGIs could be. But if we get these sort of, not necessarily roles, but the SQUEP functions, so where we need to be suitably qualified and experienced in AI within the HF roles, we need to start thinking about this now in order to make this just business as usual. So I think you're right. Ethics is always going to be there. Assurance is always going to be there. We're always going to have to do some sort of systems assurance of how we do that. We're always going to have designers, but the UI design, or the HCI design elements of this, we are already talking now about the making users of these systems have better situational awareness, situational understanding, which has always been an HF problem. When you're looking at any sort of interface, any sort of display, any sort of output where decisions have been made that are not immediately obvious, that you've got to be able to dig into these type of things and make sure they're available. I mean, one of the interesting problems I was having a chat about the other day is what happens when, not at the moment when we're still questioning everything that AI does, but in about, I don't know, 5 or 10 years time, when we're using some of these tools and we don't interrogate where the knowledge comes from, we don't think that the knowledge base could have been poisoned or compromised in any way, and we just take for granted, in the same way as we now use mapping and sort of like Google Maps and them sort of things. We used to, when you put in the destination about where you want to go to, it would show up your route, and you would query or look, right, why is it sending me along that route? Why is it doing this? Why is it doing that? We don't do that anymore. You just put in your destination, you press go, and you start following your turn-by-turn directions. Very few people now question why I'm going by a certain route when it's now shown, given to you by your mapping software. If we're not careful, we're going to be there in the same place with AI, because people who really, I guess, trust what the machine is poking out at you is absolutely right. And the analogy is there with aircrew, with pilots. The amount of I would say probably both civilian and military, there was a huge drive on, as you get more and more information within the cockpit, that pilots would be looking heads down at the systems rather than looking heads out at the airspace around them, and so more and more accidents are happening because they were heads down sucking in the data, not actually looking at where they were going. So so that more and more was being done to make sure that pilots could be heads out, and we're seeing that in vehicles as well. We're going to be in the same place with AI and autonomy, that if we're not careful, we people will rely too much on it without questioning what they're actually seeing.
Yeah, I want to go back to your exercise of sort of thinking about these roles in their own lanes, because I think you have it pretty close here, right? That you essentially have three, four, one, two,
For
three, four. You have four different roles here. So you've combined the 7 down into 4, and to think about, from a human factors perspective, what is it that our role will be over time, right? I think that we have is this a pottery term? We have fingers in all these pots. Is that a pottery term?
I think your fingers in all the pies.
Pies.
Bake,
Oh,
bake
okay. All right, baking. We have fingers in all these pies. Like, let's think about you used to pottery on my mind now. Let's see. So, thinking about what we would actually do, right? Let's think about the AI decision auditor, and I think about this in 2 ways, right? I think about the way that the author has described this as they're questioning and validating the AI before implementing, but I also wonder if there's some auditing that goes on after post AI decision, right? There's they cite here human oversight for high risk systems, but human oversight without the expertise to question is theater, not governance. And so I think, from a decision making perspective, we will need to provide better messaging when we give those outputs. In terms of human accountability architect, this is an interesting one. I don't know if we necessarily have that much sway here, but it is an interesting question of like who's responsible for a bad decision. And that's a direct result of number 1, right? You have a decision auditor who's looking at the decision that maybe an AI made, or maybe the decisions of implementing that AI. Are they at fault because they're the ones who recommended the program? Is the person who made the decision at fault because they are the one that ended up, making the call? They were the human in the loop. So the accountability architect, I think we need to really, really be careful with this role and say humans. It's difficult to talk about, because if the human doesn't have all the information, are they really at fault? Like, this is a huge ethical one here.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because this leans very heavily into systems and systems engineering. So it's that whole SOSA piece. And if you took out the term AI, and you have multiple systems working together, and where does the human responsibility sit within them? So that we'd have if you got multiple systems, you'd work out, or you should work out, as part of your HFI or HSI type work, you should be able to work out who has responsibility where, and to make sure that the human in the loop decision making is happening with each individual system, and then create almost a hierarchy or a throughput of that for your SOSA system. And so really all we're saying here is, with this, is that some of them systems are AI. And so technically the thing already exists, which really sort of kills my argument for the separate ethical architect. Really, this is delving into this a bit deeper. Is this just the systems engineering role, or is there a systems engineering ethical element of that? I think there is. I still think that in today's systems, given where we're going, I think there is a role for an ethical architect or an adjudicator or something of that role, which could wrap into your HFI, HSI manager role. I think it's possibly a bit specialist because there is a leaning there to there's a legal, a humanitarian bit as well, which really doesn't naturally fall into our training. But this whole, I think my almost go-to test for a lot of this, especially when you're doing, say, task allocation, task analysis, and things like that, is what happens when you take the term AI out of it, out of any sort of phrasing. Take the term AI out of it. What does it sound like? And in this case, for me, this is just SOZA, and how that runs.
Yeah, I'm going to move down the list here to the next one too. I think you're right, Barry. But along with those multiple systems, here's once again more systems. You have AI agents collaborating, and then you have the human working alongside those agents or overseeing those agents. And again, I see that as just how does the human integrate with the system? You have the AI risk steward who is looking for drift, degradation, bias emergence. This is an evaluation role. This is somebody who's evaluating the performance of a tool, and how you set up those metrics. That will be on the person. But now this is done by folks like cyber, right?
Yep.
This is somebody who's in cybersecurity looking at what type of information does it have access to? Is it providing the right, cyber or IT? They're looking at whether or not this is an appropriate model. I think there's likely some human factors going on with there too, like picking the right model for the tool, for picking the right tool for the task that's at hand. I think when you look at things like the responsible AI implementation strategist, I think you got it right there. It's what you call is the ethical architect, but I think also it's the systems engineering here. Drift integrity analysis or analyst. Once again, this is measuring performance. This is performance evaluation of a model and seeing if there needs to be an upgrade to the model or change in the model. And then the last one here, understanding explanations, the AI decision making into understandable explanations. That's human factors. That's core human factors. Now, I will say, I feel like I've been quite critical of this author so far, and I want to let up just a little bit because I think their main message isn't necessarily these are the 7 jobs that are coming. I think the main argument that the author is trying to make here is that, hey, we should be paying attention to these. And they use the analogy of salt in the cake.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that analogy mean? That analogy means that once you bake a cake with salt, you can't undo that. You have to start over with your cake. And so I think what this author is recommending is that we start to think about these things early and often when incorporating AI into our workflows, into our jobs, into the way that we conduct business. And I think that is a very good argument for human factors. And so I'd like to thank this author for doing that. We disagree on the roles here, or on the jobs that would be created, but I think ultimately we agree on the concept that this stuff needs to be considered as we start to move forward with this stuff. Otherwise, it's not going to. They're right. Like if you don't bake in this stuff early, you can't unfix it easily. I would say it's not quite the same as baking a cake with salt, because some of these I think could be applied post hoc, but there are some things that need to be applied as you're thinking about the process as a whole.
Yeah. Another good thing that they bring out, I don't know if you can bring up the graphic again, but scroll all the way down to the second graphic that's there, is where they talk about AI governance and some of the skills that that's the one that are there. Because actually, I think this is good systems engineering again. But again, it is stuff that we do need to be thinking about. So it's accountability, it's legal versus moral. So that goes into the ethical side of things. Systems thinking and adversarial thinking. This is something I talked about in twice in the past 2 weeks around good systems engineering gets you thinking about outside agents. And what we always forget is there's adversarial agents, there's threat actors, and more so now with AI, because there's more places to be able to do that sort of thing. So we do need to bring that back into systems engineering, provenance and challenging what's going on. So again, what I really like about what the author has done here is really facilitated this discussion. And in reality, we as I think I said right at the beginning, we as HF practitioners should really be looking at this and saying, right, what does this mean to us? How is our job changing? And what are the skills that we need as part of our basic bread and butter? What do we need in our standard toolbox to be managing and doing HF in an AI world? Because we can't ignore it. It's here. In fact, it was here yesterday. It's going to be here tomorrow. And we are the ideal people to be doing this if we take that challenge.
Yeah, there's there's so much more that I want to talk about with this, and hopefully we can fit it into the next 10 minutes or so, so we have some time at the end. If we go a little longer, that's okay. But some of the things that I want to talk about here are really, well, one, what are the jobs that are missing from this? And I don't know if there's any that are obvious to you, but something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is the way in which, uh, for the better or for worse, our jobs will change because of how systems need to be designed not only for humans, but they need to be designed for agents and models as well, right? For these models to do something well, they need access to the data that a human is requesting, and ultimately, the models and how they perform behind the scenes are going to have impacts on the human performance at the other end of those results. And so for me, one thing that I think is not necessarily here is a designer that is solely focused on how an agent or a model might interact with data. And I don't know if that's necessarily our role as human factors practitioners. I would argue that it is strongly not our role, but we we would definitely have some say into it, because the way in which that model or agent accesses that information and then relays that information to the human at the other end of it is really important, and we want to make sure we get that right. I think that is more sort of the systems engineering approach as well, but it's something that I don't see mentioned here that is being thought of. Are there any roles that you see or that you've been thinking about that are not necessarily represented here?
I was playing around with the idea of agent managers. So if we have a good AI agent for a particular role, how do we manage that in such a way that is reusable, safe, and so going back into that threat actor type scenario as well. So how, and I don't think it's an HF role, but I think it is a role. So how do we look after an agent that an AI agent that's out there either in the wild or however we deal with that? I also slightly playing with it a bit. What about historians? How do we? Because every time we play with the AI and regenerate agents and regenerate things, or the ability to regenerate things on the fly, how do we keep the historical record of what's gone before? And so we make sure that we are learning from experience and not trying to build new every time. And I've sort of called it a historian in this to sort of make think about the historian in the wider sense about the people who note down what's happened in history, to try and bring that forward. I just think there's something there about, yes, being able to go, it's a bit like we use, say, LLMs at the moment, rather than go back and look at maybe previous chats to do something, which you've done before. You'll probably just chuck it into a new prompt and say, do it again, rather than scrolling through your history because you don't know whether it's there. We almost need something to be able to easily check when somebody says, "Oh, I need something to do this." Oh, we've done that before. you can reuse that and work forward. So there is an element of that. And then there's the, how do we, if we again have this approach with AI that that it can regenerate, it can learn it and go over time, how do we identify best practice? What becomes best practice with AI, and is that how we generate it, or how do we know what is best practice within the AI itself? And I don't know quite what I mean by that, if I'm brutally honest. But I just know that there is an element of wider learning that's not just learning within of itself. So yeah, that's sort of what I've been playing with.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think, beyond the roles themselves, I think there's, I always like to link it to how are we as a society and how is culture sort of responding to this. I think there's likely going to be, what's the best way to put this? Like a shift in trust.
Yeah.
I think there's already a large subset of people that will take what AI says at face value. And I think this is important for us as human factors practitioners to come in and say, you can't just trust everything. We got to do some training. We have to, um, you know, eh, basically provide them with um, scenarios where potentially you're showing them how it could get something very wrong. And I wonder if, when you sit down and watch like the HR training videos, I wonder if there's going to be training videos on AI. There might already be some, but
Yeah.
to really drill it into corporate, that you can't take what AI says at face value yet. It will get better, but it's not there now. And so I wonder if we're going to be shifted towards a society that trusts less, which I think is dangerous in a lot of ways, but let's not get too much into that. I think there's also, just generally, um, from my perspective, I see a societal trend towards negative uh, attitudes or feelings towards AI. And a
Yeah.
lot of this trend, I will say, is sparked by some of the creative tools that AI is focused on right now: the image generation, the video generation, the creative writing, right? Those types of things, I think people look at and go, ah, so art is dead. I don't think so. I really don't think so. But I can see the concern when somebody can whip up a video in half the time that it used to take, because now they're just spending their time on prompts and figuring out the right lighting and all that stuff in a prompt versus actually getting all the resources to make that shot. Um, I wonder if we will see that narrative change once AI will, the narrative right now is AI will take your job. And that is so beyond what is actually happening. It's, I think we've said this on the show before. It's like AI is not going to take jobs as much as it will change your job. Um, and I wonder if there will be a shift, a cultural shift, once AI reaches the worker class. Are there going to be AI built um, into retail systems where when you're when you're at the register and somebody has purchased, you know, a number of things, and then there's an LLM on the cashier's thing that says, would you like to also get this that is tailored towards that person's interests based on what they just bought? And then they have to recommend it to them. Like, there's going to be and please, corporations, do not take that idea. That's terrible. Do not. Do not. um but I am wondering, will the narrative change, from AI is taking jobs to AI is changing what jobs are?
I think there's definitely something to that, because again, all the way through history, as technology itself evolves, jobs change. And some jobs do go away. So take coal mining. I live in Wales. Coal mining was a massive industry here. But as you then got into more and more, machines getting more and more involved in that type of thing, then less and less workers are required because it's dangerous work. So send a machine in, and it's also more efficient. You can work 24 hours, all that sort of stuff. So I think with some of the tools you highlighted, so taking more of the creative jobs, I think there's definitely a concern there. However, is it realistic? Because some of the stuff that we use AI for now, so in image generation, so we're saying we're taking it away from artists. You got to ask yourself the question: would I have done that in the first place? So I'm using some image generation as part of maybe some PowerPoint presentation I'm doing. Would I have gone to an external artist, or would I have just bodged together a simpler diagram? Chances are I would have bodged together a simpler diagram,
or not bothered to do it in the first place,
or just not done it. And also historically, so you would have gone out to a person, before PowerPoint existed, you'd have gone out to somebody to create your 35mm slides to put through a projector. And what we had then was you just had less presentations. A presentation was a really posh thing to have. Whereas now everybody creates a presentation at the drop of a hat. It's really easy. And so AI is going to facilitate us doing new and better things and do things quickly and things like that. But it's still just going to be a tool. It's not going to sort of take over the world. So we're going to find out new ways of working, what we can do with it, and that type of thing going forward. It's not, and this is why it's going to be a revolution, and I think more so a revolution than an evolution, because we're going to find new things that we didn't know we could do, in the way that we can do it. The point you made earlier around prompt engineering already disappearing. I mean, you actually made the point really beautifully. In the last show, when you were creating the image, that small bit of video using Sora 2, you went into ChatGPT first to tell it to create the prompt for you to more optimally put it into Sora 2. And so you're using one tool to generate the perfect prompt to go into the other tool, because the other tool was more immature. And so we've seen the same with coding. Coding of itself, more people now have access to complex coding because you can ask ChatGPT to do it for you, or you can ask the Microsoft 365 version of ChatGPT to do it for you, to put functions together and to put wider examples together. So it is about how does the job change rather than replacing completely. But some of them jobs might get changed very radically.
Yeah. All right. I think we should probably move on. Barry, final thoughts on these 7 new roles for AI.
I think we've quite conclusively said that these roles in as of themselves may not be the ones, but definitely from a human factors perspective, we need to learn these functions, we need to learn these tasks, and they need to become part of our bread and butter day-to-day way that we work as HR practitioners.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that assessment. I think some are missing, but this is a good start. And I don't think they're all roles. I think they're hats that we wear. And like you said, we need to incorporate those into our day-to-day. And companies and businesses need to incorporate those into their planning and strategy. Okay. We are going to take a quick break, and we'll be back after this for some it came from. See what's going on in the human factors community. Oh, and thank you to our friends over at UX Collective for our news story this week. If you want to follow along, we do post the links to all the original articles in our Discord, where you can join us for more discussion on these stories and much more. We'll be right back.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast Network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our weekly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and Human Factors Minute, a Patreon-only weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you. Thank you, and remember, it depends.
Yes, as always, huge thank you to all of our patrons. You truly keep the lights on over here, and you keep the show going in the background. We use our Patreon funds to pay for a lot of the overhead that is required to host, to broadcast, to do all the things that a podcast might do. So thank you so much. This show is truly supported by listeners like you. We don't have any sponsors at this time, and so really, it's funded by a small group of people that support us on Patreon. If you'd like to, patreon.com/humanfactorscast. We'd appreciate your patronage. All right. It's been a while since we've done this, Barry, but let's go ahead and get into It Came From.
It came from. It came from.
Every time. That's embarrassing. I feel like with AI, I should probably make something better.
I like that. I think
Do you?
it's not sharp, to the point. It's
It's so basic. All right.
like pair of slippers.
Okay. Look, we didn't get to It Came From last time because we were talking about all the news that we had missed over the last year. Well, good news for you. We also missed a lot of It Came Froms over the last year. So we might be pulling from stuff for quite some time for It Came From. But this week, we have a couple of interesting ones and a new one from ResearchGate, which is interesting. So let's tackle the one from ResearchGate first. The main question here, this is from Gasson, and the main question here is, how can generative AI reshape creative literacy and redefine the role of design educators in fostering truly augmented creativity? And I thought this was a great one to complement our story tonight. There's more to this, but the two main questions: how can design teachers foster transliteracy and critical use of AI as a creative partner rather than a substitute? And what new forms of co-authorships or pedagogical roles emerge in this age of intelligent co-creation? Barry, what do you think?
It's a really cool question because I don't think it's restricted to design creation either. How do we engage and use generative AI throughout industry? But fundamentally, I've seen, rather depressingly, I've seen a lot of education or a lot of educators complaining about the use of AI and saying, as soon as they see any of their students using AI, that they will stop doing it and things like that. Whereas I've seen some more, I would say, more enlightened ones saying we need to show them how to use it, responsibly, how to engage with it. So you then get into the heart of this. How do we look about how we teach, use and teach design? Bring in, how do we use the tool? Firstly, we've got to teach the teachers. What can it do? How can it do? What are the pros? What are the strengths? So we're not using ChatGPT to do calculators and things like that. So how do we make that work? But then also because then they can work with the students to say, look, use these tools, use it together. I think the co-authorship idea, my jury's still out on this. So I've seen a few papers, I've seen different things sort of saying, Bill wrote the authors were Bill, Bob, and ChatGPT, and I don't know whether I think that ChatGPT has done enough to be an author of it, given that it's not actually doing any thinking of its own right. It's just sorting out information for you. Because why aren't you also then crediting Microsoft Word, which did all the typesetting for you? Why aren't you attributing Microsoft in its entirety, or Apple because you use their platform to write it on? And so I might be being slightly facetious. So I think this intelligent co-creation isn't necessarily a thing. I think it's still just a tool. I think later on down the line, when we get to AGI type stuff, we might be in a different place. But at the moment, I think it is still a tool. Let's use it as a tool. Let's teach people how to use the tool properly, and use it to encourage people to be more creative and to have a better creative output. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree that there are likely going to be shifts in dynamics in how we use these tools for things. Right, I've already found myself using a lot of this tool for show prep. Right, it's not necessarily that I don't have my own thoughts. I do. I use them as prompts to say, how can I think about this in different ways? And I often have it challenge not only the viewpoint of the articles, but the viewpoint of myself, right? What are some things that I myself might not consider? And I do that as a way to bring more voices to the table. And so the way it will change is that we will use them as tools to augment and offset our current things. And I think the interesting way in which we'll use them, I think you were kind of getting at this, is that the margins by where we will use them changes. You might not want to make a fancy graphic for a PowerPoint presentation, but that might be something that AI generates, with just the input of the slide. And so, boom, it's there. And does this make for more engaging content over time? Maybe. But it's there and it wasn't there before. And so I think we're seeing these emerging trends of, well, now we're actually finding gaps in the things that we would normally not do, or the things that we're traditionally didn't have time for but maybe wanted to do, that are now becoming easier and easier when we can offset it to an AI tool. Now, in terms of education, and I think this is a big conversation in this space, I'm going to point y'all to Nate B. Jones. He has a Substack, and he's a great follow if you like anything AI. He's on TikTok, he's on YouTube. He's a great AI leader when it comes to thinking about how we interact with AI. Can't recommend him enough. But he has a most recent article about how to talk about AI at Thanksgiving, and I think there's one thing specifically that he brings up about cheating and education and using them as tools in the classroom. He brings up some specific numbers here. That this is not imagined. 43% of college students have used AI tools. 89% of them using them for homework. UK universities caught nearly 7,000 students cheating with AI in the years 23 to 24, which is triple the prior year. In one test, University of Reading, 94% of AI written submissions went undetected. But here's some important context, right? Stanford runs a long-running research on academic dishonesty. There's 60 to 70% of high school students reporting cheating in some form before ChatGPT. So the tools are changing, but the behavior doesn't. And I think acknowledging that these tools are real, they brings up the whole calculator argument. It doesn't necessarily change what they taught, but how they teach it. And so I think we're probably going to see something similar here. We're still on the early end of this. It's only been a couple of years. We have to, we have to adapt, and we will. But I thought those were interesting points. Again, Nate B. Jones, he's a great guy to follow. But I echo those. I think, when we teach about these roles, we have to it has to be baked into our education as well, right? The way that we talk and speak about AI, as with the advent of the calendar, with advent of word processor, with advent of whatever tool, we're now learning those in the classroom, and we have to. All right. Any final thoughts?
I think that just one more. I think perhaps we also need to rethink how we look at education. Education at the moment is so baked around having some input and regurgitating it out onto paper, digital paper or otherwise. If the problem is now that LLMs are making that easier to access for that type of cheating, shall we say. I think it's actually using the right tools for the right job. Maybe educators are being lazy and need to think about different ways of proving or allowing students to prove that they've understood the lesson and the assignment. So do better.
Do better. All right, we had two more, but I think we'll skip those and put them in for next time because we're kind of at the tail end of the show here. But I'm glad we're getting back to this "it came from" thing. This was a really great question and one that I thought went really well with tonight's discussion.
Yes.
All right. Now time for a segment that requires no introduction. It's one more thing. Just talk about one more thing. Barry, what you got?
I'm probably going to repeat the same theme of my one more things forevermore. So we're back to pottery again, as I mentioned last week, that I'm really big into this. Tomorrow is my first ever sale. That over the past 6 months, I've accrued so much pottery that I've made that, quite frankly, people are getting quite sick of it. It's stacked up in places and all that sort of stuff. And so there's a charitable Christmas fair going on. I got asked if I would consider selling my stuff there, and so I am. And I thought it'd be dead easy because you just chuck it out there, chuck some prices on it. But I suddenly realised it's going to be a first time in a completely different field that I'm just going to have pure judgment, because people are either going to buy it or they're not, or they're going to be quite easy to turn around and say, well, that's not very good, or it's very heavy, or it's very blah 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 blah. And there's going to be a hard measure at the end of it. Am I going to sell anything? Because if I come back, I've stacked up and priced today all the bits I've got. If I come back with all the bits that I've gone down with and I don't sell a thing, I'm going to be quite sad. So tomorrow evening could be quite a sad time for me. We'll see how it goes.
Is this event, is this just for pottery selling, or is this for a multitude of different types of items?
It's a multitude of different types of items. So it's put on by our local scout group, and they are, there's lots of different people. I think so it's an artisan fair, really. So there's going to be lots of different types of things there. I'm probably going to be the only pottery person there, I think. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Well, that's great because one, they have no point of comparison, and two, they're not professional judges, so I think you're likely to get some sort of leeway there.
I've also priced it really cheap, so it's easy Christmas presents.
Easy.
Yes.
Well, if you're in the neighborhood, go buy Barry's pottery.
Please, because I need shelf room. Nick, what about you? What's your one more thing?
I've been playing around. Okay, the theme today is AI, right? So I've been playing around with this idea of. Are you familiar with Claude Skills?
No, I'm not.
So the way that Claude Skills work is you basically bake in instructions for an AI, right? So this would be like a prompt. You give it that prompt, and then you could basically give Claude a prompt that says, "Hey," and use this skill to do it. And then it will go to that skill and pull that prompt and perform that prompt. And you can chain things together. I will give you context for this, and the use case that I'm trying to do, right? So the way that I've been doing this is that I've been building a custom GPT, and I've been uploading it with text documents of prompts. And for an example here, in the preparation of show notes, right, you can probably tell we massage the blurb after it comes back, but we have a blurb that comes back in our typical voice. We fed it a bunch of information and had it come back. So that way it comes back in our style. I also have a way to generate titles based on our previous titles. And I also have a thing that will generate some talking points, right? And these are all different prompts. I've also created one to look up a royalty-free image that is on Pexels, right? That is representative of the thing. So these are all different prompts, and these are all in the assistance of creating show notes. Now, what I've done is I put them all into a GPT, and what I can do is feed the article that we're talking about in once, and it'll come back with everything. So I can say, give me a title, and it'll go through, read the title script, and then it'll give me 3 options for the titles depending on, what the content is. And then it'll go through and then it'll write a blurb for it. And then it'll go through and it'll do the analysis. And then it'll go through and then do the Pexels one. And they're all different prompts. Whereas before, if you wanted to put them all in like a mega prompt, that would be something insane. But now it's just, it's calling the reference. It's kind of like ARG, which I'm going to get the augmented retrieval something retrieval generation, augmented retrieval generation. But basically it's calling these prompts and pulling them in, doing the thing, dumping it out, pulling the next in, doing the thing, dumping it out, and then putting it all into one input. And it's really cool. It's very cool if you have like a lot of things that you use one input for. So if you have like, I don't know, a picture that you want to dissect in different ways, and you have like, oh, show me the emotional meaning of this picture, and then show me the physical components of this, but describe this picture. You could have those as different prompts and then dump them into a GPT and then have it do its own thing. Now there are some drawbacks to this, but I just get super excited about it because it's a new thing that I've been playing around with, and it's a new way to think about the problem solving that AI can do for you. Okay. Yeah, it's cool. I can show you too. All right. Well, that's it for today, everyone. If you like this episode and enjoy some of the discussion about AI, I can encourage you to go listen to any of our other episodes on AI. I promise the conversation will continue there. Comment wherever you're listening on what you think of the story this week. For more in-depth discussion, you can join us on our Discord community. Yes, there's stay up to date with all the latest news, all the latest Human Factors news. Visit our official website, all that stuff. If you like what you hear, you want to support the show, there's a couple things you can do. 1, wherever you're at, you can leave us a 5-star review. That helps. 2, you can tell your friends about us. That helps even more because they trust you and you trust us, right? Maybe. I don't know. And 3, as I mentioned earlier, you can consider supporting us on Patreon. This show is truly supported by listeners like you. And if you want to help support the show and help us grow, you can do that too. As always, links to all of our socials and our website are in the description of this episode. I thank Mr. Barry Kirby for being on the show today. Where can our listeners go and find you if they want to talk about your pottery spoils?
Well, if you want to find me about pottery, then you're going to go on Instagram because I'm there at mrbppkirby.com. If you want to talk work stuff, then I'm now mostly around LinkedIn and Facebook. If you want to hear some of the interviews that we've done up to the end of 2025, then find me at 1202podcast.com.
As for me, I've been your host, Nick Rome. You can find me on our Discord and across social media at Nick_Rome. If you're watching live, stay tuned for the post show. Thanks again for tuning into Human Factors Cast. Until next time, it depends. Something music. Where's the... Oh, they put it down here. There we go. Okay. Yes, it's loading. There we go. Hi. We're back.
We haven't... That was quite cool, I thought. I thought that was a good discussion.
A great story. Yes. I, as always, not always. And sometimes I'm like, are we going to have enough? It works.
I think we quite experienced it, this whole let's just talk at it for a while. So,
well, last week you were saying I love the approach of going with multiple stories, and then we only picked one for this week, and it was still enough to talk about. I don't think it has to stay the same for next week. Sorry, not next week. 2 weeks for time.
That's pretty much that's what we said at the end of that, wasn't it? Was, I think, we don't necessarily have to be completely rigid on the, is it main stories, is it came froms. If there's a couple of really big stories, then just nail them. Or a medium-sized story and one it came from, or maybe a smaller story and a few it came from. Because it just mixes it up. I think it's quite cool.
I think it's quite cool too.
So how have you found doing this first thing in the morning for you then? Is it a different thing from doing it in the afternoon for you?
It is, although once we got going, I think my mind was sharper. So here, let me tell you a quick, I guess interesting. This might be interesting. All right, let me here. Can I show you what my environment looks like normally when I'm at work? Okay, imagine that there's no blue and green back there because that doesn't happen. Those are on. These come off. If I can get them to come off. Yeah, that one's off. That one's off. Right. So this is my normal, just the blue and green gone.
Okay.
Right, they're a light bar back here. You can't see them. They're behind the microphone right now. Wait. There we go. All right. Yep. Two light bars. There you go. Just imagine those are off.
Yep.
This is my normal operating environment for when I'm at work. I have a whole setup for the podcast where the lights above dim. I have lights which are on a remote, but the remote has not been working. I got to reach up and do them manually. There and there, and this one got changed, so this one has to be that. So I have lights up there. Okay. This is my normal podcasting setup. Now, what you're not seeing, I have a window to my left. Okay, so you would imagine that normally I get some sort of circadian clues based on the position of the sun. The interesting thing is I have a blackout curtain,
right,
that I have on 90% of the time. So when I'm working, blackout curtains on, lights on. When I'm podcasting, blackout curtains on, lights on. Right now, it kind of feels like it's 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Almost,
okay.
for me. So, but then I'm going to walk out of this room and it's going to be like 10 a.m. and I'm going to be like, oh, I got my whole day ahead of me. It's very weird. And I will say it's kind of like a time dilation that's happening.
Yep.
How's this been for you doing this at 3?
I've actually quite liked it because I've found that now knowing that, in 20 minutes time I go back, everyone's still going to be up and we've still got the evening to go. So yeah, I quite liked it. But I guess it also depends, because sometimes I might have already, met up with a couple of friends after work or something by now as well. So, but even then, finishing at 5 is not a drama. So, but equally, I can sort of, when we do it on the Thursday, you sort of do your day, and you finish, and then that means it's all done in almost a space of a bit of time that we wouldn't have used for anything else.
Right.
And I'm so used to doing it now as well. I think that it doesn't really dig into my sleep time that much, because normally now you sort of go to sleep about midnight anyway. So,
well, what's also interesting for you is you go to sleep right after we record. I stay up and do post.
Yep.
And then when you wake up in the morning, show's out.
I was going to say, magic.
It probably comes out a little bit later for you because it comes out like 6 a.m. our time, 6 a.m. Eastern, I think. So that's interesting because now I have to do post today, and I typically have a couple hours set aside on Thursday evenings for post, but now I have basically the whole day. I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should push this out tonight or Monday morning. I think I'm going to go with Monday morning.
Oh, really? Okay. I guess because the next one will be, because it won't be next week, will it? So it'll, I don't know. It's interesting because I used to do a fair bit of analysis on what was the best time to push out content, and I think a lot of that has now just disappeared.
There's still better times. You're right that most of it has disappeared, but there's still better times. If you think about this, okay, let's open up the hood. We're talking podcasting. There's still better times if you think about. This is where some of our human factors background and kind of what I was talking about designing for agents comes in.
Yeah.
So let me paint the scene here. Most folks have a podcatcher, which is some sort of program or application that reads an RSS feed, pulls in the episodes, and allows you to listen to them. That's all a podcatcher is.
Yeah.
Now, when I think about designing for the person, I think morning, people are starting their day, and people are, queuing up what they want to listen to on their commute. A little bit of this has changed because of COVID and remote workers and all that stuff. But I think when you think about that, then morning becomes the best time, because then they can listen to it on their way to a job. And if they don't get to it, they can get to it on the way back. It's downloaded at their home. So if they have to go into like a sensitive environment where there is no Wi-Fi, or if they're in a remote environment where there's no bandwidth or anything like that, they have access to it. And they have access to it on the way back. And I think about the type of work that our field does, and I tend to think about us in that way.
Yeah.
So morning, best time. But when in the morning? Well, when do people wake up for work? Sometimes you'll see like a 6, sometimes you'll see a 7, sometimes you'll see an 8. So you got to beat all that. So I try to do sometimes I try to do 4 a.m. But I think, 6 is probably fine. They wake up. If their podcatcher's on a schedule, like mine syncs up at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So it might miss it. So if I do 5 o'clock, it'll hit it. But that is the agent piece. The podcatcher is the agent piece. It's going out, retrieving, and downloading. Because most of these you can listen to, you can stream. But again, in those low bandwidth environments, or if you don't want to use data while you're traveling, like a plane, those types of things, then setting it for the agent to pick up. Because here's the thing. The agent picks things up, and then some agents will order them in the order that they are downloaded. So you want to time it just before that agent picks it up, because then it will be on top. It'll be the thing that people listen to first.
Yeah.
And then the other things that were released the night before or the day before, it'll be on top. So that's how I'm thinking about release and programming. It's probably overthinking it a lot.
I'd say, because I listened to there was a conference an online conference the other day around podcasting and stuff, and they were talking about how the release mechanism has potentially changed, but they can't necessarily prove it. In that, most people are now prompted by you're absolutely right in terms of, if you've got somebody who, like I do use Apple Podcasts or whatever it is that is your mechanism, you go there and you normally have the ones you listen to, and you'll listen to them in order that they've got there. But the people who you're trying to almost fish to, they are normally prompted by social media. So they'll see something saying, so they'll either see a short, or they will see some sort of post that says this is now live, go and listen. And they reckon around 60 to 70% of traffic is now coming from this is now live, go and find it. So combine that with international audience, then, because there's no perfect time. I mean, certainly from the UK perspective, it's sort of easier because I have one time zone to think about. Obviously, in the States, you have multiple time zones to think about which is your perfect time zone to pick. So it's about A, when you drop it, but B, when you prompt it as well. When you push it through social media, because just one, it's now live is not enough. You need to be able to push it out. So I did play around with setting them. So for one for UK time, one for Central, and one for Australian time. So, but still all baked around that sort of 7 a.m. in whatever time zone it is, because most people still listen to podcasts and stuff when they're commuting to and from work. If you can get them on the way into work, chances are that if their commute's anywhere between 20 minutes and 40 minutes, if you get them on the way in, chances are you will then also keep them on the way home. Because if they're halfway through, then you get, and so there's just so much sort of psychology and stuff really built into this that I find it incredible and really interesting. And I'm still fairly sure that at the end of it, nothing truly changes.
Probably not.
Yeah,
probably not.
But
people, like the way I think about it from my own personal perspective, I will either listen or I won't, depending on how much time is available.
Yeah,
that's the equation. If I like it, I prioritize things in my head. Well, I want to listen to this podcast before this podcast.
Yeah,
but and I'd imagine that it's some sort of model for everyone that does that. And if you're prioritizing listening to this, then thank you.
Which why wouldn't they? But it is interesting as well when I think you go through ebbs and flows of stuff. So most of my podcast listening is actually or used to be political, because the political side of stuff that I did, and there was probably 3 or 4 podcasts that I listened to religiously, either daily or weekly, depending on their release schedule. And some of them have disappeared, and the same, or at least half of the 2 hosts, one of them has then continued to do other podcasts. I haven't wanted to. I've tried to engage with some of the other stuff that they've done, and I've been like, actually, I don't want to. I don't like the new combinations. Some of the podcasts have disappeared because they've just reached the end of what they do. But then I've also sort of fallen out of love with political commentary anyway, and so I wanted to fall into other things. So presumably everybody else has that as well, that they might fall in and out of love with certain topics, certain genres, certain people, and so you're going to have that bigger ebb and flow. I mean, certainly at the moment, I'm finding a lot of people are narked with politics, that it's just depressing, therefore we don't want to engage with it. So other podcasts are becoming more popular. So it's presumably we must be in that same thing as well, where some people are really into HF. I normally find a boost around the academic year, so the start of the academic year, when and I think
I was gonna say you want some inside details on that. I talked to several instructors that use our content as incentive for students to either write a paper on or to get extra credit for. So thank you, instructors. If you're an instructor and want to do that, you have our permission. You could do it.
In fact, very much with the 34-12 perspective. I got, out of normal listeners, I've had very few people actually come in and say, except when they've sort of seen me face to face, but nobody's really reached out through any social media or anything like that to say, oh, where's the latest content? Even though my listener figures have stayed fairly consistent. But the amount of lecturers who've either tapped me on the shoulder at conference or messaged me to say, are you doing new content? Because I've got my new course starting in September and I need to point my students at after your new content. Like, you're not paying for that content.
You tried supporting us on Patreon? Does 1202 have a Patreon?
No, we have. What do we have? I think we try. We've got is it Cup of Tea or
Buy Me a Coffee?
Buy Me a Coffee. That's that one. It's got that. Nobody's ever used it. But then I sort of put it out there to try it. It's thankfully my company supports my podcast. So.
Oh, there you go.
Which is kind of helpful.
Nice. That's nice.
Having said that, it feels like midnight now. So
so you're feeling the same thing. Yeah, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm gonna have dinner right after this. I gotta think about Post. Post has been interesting because of I don't know what's changed with our post-production software, but now it requires that everything is uploaded before it will actually render the final thing. So we use Descript. And which is great. It's a great tool. So like the process for post-production often entails downloading this full show, putting it into Descript, which is a local program, but it requires the thing to be uploaded before you can like render it. So once it's downloaded locally, it'll do the transcription. And then what's really nice is that it will allow you to edit by the transcription. So all the ums and ers that you hear live, so some of those are knocked out by the time it hits the audio feed for a more listenable experience. I still leave them in for the visual because it's a natural thing. And it's a it looked very choppy if I kept it in.
Yeah,
but for audio, it's streamlined. Audio is the premium experience, and then I do all the Patreon stuff, and then I throw it up on Patreon, and then I schedule it and do all that stuff. But I was reminded last week of how long post took. Post took me about 4 hours last week, and I know in the past I've done like a 30-minute post before.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just me being out of practice or if the download upload thing had something to do with it. Like, I still got to figure out my internet in this new place. Like, I'm not hardwired in. I'm Wi-Fi right now, which is dangerous.
But it's cool though, because in your old place, if you were Wi-Fi, this would have been really, really glitchy.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously the move has done the connectivity good. Even at this
kind of. It's hit or miss actually. Right. And I think during the hours which we normally broadcast, and right now, I've had troubles at work. So I'm not like with internet. It's like, it'll drop out during a meeting and I'm like, crap. It's actually it was rather funny. There's a colleague that I'm working with, and she's expecting, and she texts me a morning before a client meeting. She's like, "Hey, I thought morning sickness was done. I'm not feeling well. Can you take over?" And I go, "Absolutely, you got it. I'll do my best." She was the main lead on that presentation, and I said, "Okay, I'll hop on. I got it." I hop on. My internet immediately drops after I hop on.
Oh no.
So it's a race to see which one of us can get on first. She actually ends up getting on first, like something like 9 minutes into the meeting. Oh.
But I had a meeting today with a colleague that I haven't spoken to in a while, and in fact, it goes back a step further than that, having now realised this. So I've done 2 events this week. So in fact, one of them talked about cybersecurity, HF and cybersecurity. The other one talked about HF and defence. But when we were doing the prep for the HF and cybersecurity, that was a panel discussion, right? So the panel itself wasn't put together, or certainly we didn't get our chair. The event is like Monday morning. We didn't get the chair until Friday afternoon. And so we're like, well, what questions we're going to have, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, right, well, even if we don't have a chair, I need to put something together, because we don't want to go in dry. So I'm right, let's have a Teams regardless, and we'll just chat it through between us. If a chair comes along, then we'll say, look, this is kind of what we thought about. Fairly reasonable. And I knew one of the other panel members, but not the other two. And so I fire up the Teams, and my camera's just not working. And no matter what I do, I try switch stuff off and on and all that sort of stuff. I didn't go for the whole reboot because it was more important that we talked than I messed around with the camera. But I was like, out of all the times that, because we'd only been messing around the week before and stuff, so I was like, how hard can this stuff be? And then so then I find out today exactly why that is. So that, like, nearly a week later, because I've been away all week, that is because I'd managed to pull the cable out the camera. And so no, of course it wasn't working because it just wasn't wired up. At least I now know what the problem is, but yeah, it's simple things.
Simple things. Have you tried plugging it in?
Yeah. It's again, when I was chatting to my colleague today, I had to do the whole turn off and turn back on again. But I'm quite pleased that, because ironically, having not been doing much podcasting over the past 12 months, I bought myself a new PC that has got a super fast graphics card in it, and it's built by my local IT shop, which is really cool. And they knew, I've told them exactly what I wanted to use it for, and so they got me the business. And so now when I come to do a reboot, like a full shutdown and power back up again, it takes like a minute. It doesn't take like the whole 5 minutes or so that it used to take. So very pleased by. So, but it's a massive box as well. It's got lights on it, which I don't use. But, I feel like I'm one of the young gamers. Who has the proper lights in their box and stuff, and I'm just like,
go.
But would you bet about going the whole thing and having a water cooled system? I was like, I just feel that's a bit much. We don't need to go down there.
Oh, okay. So you don't have a water cooled system?
No, I couldn't really justify it.
No,
but it would look cool.
I want to get a rack PC. You seen those?
Oh.
Where you just have a giant rack and you just replace the parts and pieces, kind of like a.
Well, that is proper. That's almost proper old school, isn't it? Where you actually go back into having the big box where you can take modules in and out.
Yep.
And do it properly.
That's expensive.
Well, that's almost why I got the box I've now got. So it's not a rack, but it's certainly it's a large box that if I want to change the graphics card out of, it's an easier swap than some of the short form function boxes that I've had.
You know what? I can't wait till it comes out. The Steam Machine. You see that one?
Oh no, I haven't seen that.
Oh, it looks nice. It's a console. Steam's making a console.
Okay, cool.
Running off the same OS that Steam Deck is.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for that because of the small form factor. I'm almost wondering if I bring that to HFES next year and stream from that. If it'll have more, it's tiny. If it will have more power than my laptop will. So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe we'd do a test stream, right? See what's within the realm of possible.
So is that? Oh, so it is. Yes, so it is going to have a proper user interface. So you'll be able to push.
Nice graphics card, yeah, like that, yeah. So I'm obviously going to use it for games, but like, could I use it for streaming too? Maybe. Would I buy a dedicated one for streaming? Maybe. If it's good, right? You know that if I think ultimately I want a better PC for streaming, but be interesting to try that out.
It certainly would. It looks quite cool. I just don't have enough. I just don't do enough gaming to justify it for me. But I like the form and function of the box. It's nice and clean and small and cool. But,
yeah, that could fit in a suitcase, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's got a funky blue light on it, which I'm a fan of. Cool blue lights.
Oh, did you want to see how that GPT works? Here, I got it. I have it up. We have just a couple minutes left here, but I figure I'd just show it to you. So basically, the parent GPT actually works as a retrieval system, right? You're an assistant that can locate and string together prompt templates stored in a predefined prompt library. Look at your knowledge base, right? If you're unfamiliar with how GPTs work, that's basically just saying, hey, you know, here's all of them.
Yeah.
Right. And these are just text documents that have those loaded up.
Yeah.
Here. Let's see. Where's let's just do the title generator, right? Let me bring this up here. You can, this is all open source anyway. I don't care. Y'all can see this. But yeah, here's like the title generator, right? And it has all the instructions there for titles. And then so it'll go in, it'll read it, and then it'll pump it out. Very cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Neat. So then, yes,
think about it.
Basically, it's almost object-oriented GPTing.
Yeah.
Because you basically that's you just encapsulating them into functions.
Yep.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Very, very neat. Very neat. Okay, well, we're about at time, so yeah. I think we can both go off and enjoy our day since this was first thing in the morning. So thank you for joining us. If you've been joining us live, appreciate you. And if you're listening later, thank you for listening. And we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. I think the next planned show would be on the 11th. Does that sound right to you, Barry? December 11th. Okay, December 11th. We'll be here, not same time, same place.
Yeah. Yep.
Same place. Wherever you're watching, you'll find us here again. December 11th, approximately afternoon time, or 10 p.m. GMT.
Indeed. Cool.
All right.
Well, have a good one.
You too, buddy. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Are you tired of boring lectures and textbooks on human factors and UX? Well, grab your headphones and get ready for a wild ride with the Human Factors Minute podcast. Each minute is like a mini crash course packed with valuable insights and information on various organizations, conferences, usability methods, theories, models, certifications, tools, and much more. We'll take you on a journey through the fascinating world of human factors, from the ancient history to the latest trends and developments. Listen in as we explore the field and discover new ways to enhance the user experience. From the Think Aloud protocol to the critical incident technique, focus groups, iterative design, we'll make sure that you're the smartest person in the room. Tune in on the 10th, the 20th, and the last day of every month for a new and interesting tidbit related to human factors. Don't miss out on the Human Factors Minute podcast, your ultimate source for all things human factors.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our monthly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and access to the full library of Human Factors Minute, a weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you.